Well, it's time to talk Monday Night Raw that aired last night. And a lot to talk about. Not a lot of great stuff. Some good wrestling. But there was one segment in particular that I know a lot of people made a lot of noise about, and I can't dispute it. It was horrible. In a lot of ways, you thought they learned from last week's awkwardness, and it got worse somehow. So we'll talk about it. You know exactly what I'm talking about with Becky Lynch and AJ Lee. And maybe some of you liked it. I'd like to know the reasoning for that. It's really difficult to like, and we'll dive into details soon. But first, let's get the housekeeping stuff out of the way and welcome you to the show and say that if you want to go ad-free and want some money off of your first month to go ad-free, 50% to be exact, it's only going on for another week. So check us out at patreon.com/WWE podcast. Use the code CHAMBER. That will get you 50% off your first month, but it's only going on for another week through Elimination Chamber, and then that's it. So let's go into Monday Night Raw, and I'll make a concerted effort, unlike my normal state of mind, to make some positive statements here about the show. And it wasn't a bad show. It was just underwhelming. And considering the position of where we are in WrestleMania season, you think that they'd be firing on all cylinders. Doesn't seem like that's what they're doing. Something ain't clicking. And again, that's not to say everything was bad. It wasn't. But let's dive into it. So we had Jimmy and Jay on the concourse, and they made their way through the crowd, and we had Paul Heyman interrupt, and he had Austin Theory, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul. Logan took the mic and told the crowd to shut up, and he bragged about selling his Pokemon card for over $16 million. And then the Vision members come to the ring, and Theory complained that he would have won the match had it not been for the Masked Man. Adam Pearce comes out and tried to talk the Vision into getting their complaints to his office, and Heyman demanded that Pearce put Reed in the Elimination Chamber. And Pearce said Reed could only earn his way in if he wins his qualifying match on next week's Raw. Then cue LA Knight. So a busy first segment here. A lot of interruptions down the line. LA Knight comes out and he walks past Pearce. And he mocked the Vision for the Masked Man messing with them. And he prayed to the sweet filthy Lord to put Reed in the Elimination Chamber match with him. And he pointed out that the Usos, who were still in the crowd, called for a 6-man tag match. And Pearce polled the crowd before making the obvious decision to have a 6-man tag team match. I forgot the Usos were in the crowd. But Knight came out, had some decent insults. Nothing that made me think that it furthered his career in any way. But it was your standard but good LA Knight promo with his weird twists on phrases. And that's not a compliment, nor is it a slight on him. I don't know what to make of it yet. He's been always kind of that quirky promo, but also engaging promo. I'm a fan of his delivery generally, but sometimes he puts twists on words and phrases that don't need to be twisted. Again, not a complaint. I'm generally feeling a little bit up and down about him when it comes to promos, but at least they're giving him mic time, and I always seem to be asking for stars to have more mic time and less in ring and being able to flesh out their characters. And there's no better way to do that than to speak. You can have 100 wrestling matches and then have one promo, and the fans would learn and connect more in that one promo than they would at 100 matches. So I'm a big fan of promos and not really just relying on the gymnastics inside the ring. And I think that that's always a positive. So regardless of what I felt about LA Knight, the fact is they're giving him mic time. And even if it's short, it's still important. Just like the Vision. And hearing Austin Theory, as short as he was, actually speak is good. So a busy overall open to the show, but a predictable ending here that usually leads to the main event. But this one was immediately the match. It was the next match. So that's a little bit of a different tone, if you will, than the usual. Start the show with an open, build that particular match that you've started at the beginning of the show, and then deliver it at the end of the show as the main event. In this case, it was a big 6-man tag team match here with the Vision, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, and Austin Theory taking on Knight and the Usos. And the match went 12 minutes, so a little bit less than I would have liked given the talent in the ring. But I actually think the right team won here. The Vision gets the victory. The finish was Reed sending the Usos to the floor. Reed threw Jimmy back inside the ring. Logan dropped Jimmy with a punch before tagging out, and then Reed hit a tsunami on Jimmy before getting the pin. Now, when you look at the 3 men on that team, between LA Knight, Jay, and Jimmy, Jimmy is clearly far and away the bottom man on that totem pole. So it gives that team a loss without hurting Jay, and more importantly, not hurting LA Knight. I mean, I don't think they're really protecting Jay, but if you're going to have that team lose, you especially with the baby faces, you have the lowest man on the totem pole take the fall to protect the other two. And that's what they did. I would like to see a little less suicide dives from Bronson Reed, who doesn't need to do them. I don't need to see it. I need you to wrestle like a big man. We see enough suicide dives and moonsaults and 450 splashes from everyone else on the roster. Differentiate yourself. Use what you have at your advantage, and that is your size. So wrestle like it. Everybody seems to want to have that need to have that same style, and everybody has the same moveset. I understand he can do it, and it's impressive he can do it and somehow safely do it, given that you're a big man. But number one, you're putting yourself at a higher risk than you need to because of your weight. That's just physics. There's less margin for error because of how much mass you're moving through the ropes. If you catch your toe on that middle rope, you're going down. You could also obviously hurt your opponent if you don't land right. Again, I know everybody's working with one another, but it just unnecessarily increases the risk. And you don't need to do it just because everyone else does it. I need a guy that has a moveset that's different, feels different, acts different, doesn't wrestle like he was just churned out of a WWE factory. That's what I feel like a lot of the matches are today. And it's easily fixable. It just feels like everybody needs their own identity inside the ring with moveset and style and pacing. And yet everybody's still trying to do the same moves, even if there's a 300-pound difference between the guy doing moves that are understandable to do at, say, 175, 200-pound weight class, and then somebody that's 400 pounds. I don't need a guy doing a moonsault or a suicide dive if you're over 300 pounds or even over like 250, 270. I don't need you doing it. Again, who am I to say? But it just some observation there. But the Vision get the victory, and I think it's the right call. The Vision, especially with the Seth Rollins injury, and he obviously went down a number of months ago, and then even more importantly with Braun Breaker going down, that had so much momentum. The two top guys of the Vision, and the Vision keeps on going, and you need to have that group continue its momentum, especially with those injuries. You can't let them peter out. You've got Paul Heyman on the team. You've got the next generation, presumably on that team with Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, and Austin Theory. You need to keep it going, and I think the next guy up is Bronson Reed. If I'm Bronson Reed, I'm looking at this saying, hey, yeah, sucks Rollins went down. He's obviously, I'm learning a lot from him. Braun Breaker. Yes, we're a good duo, but I'm always second in command when Braun Breaker's there. So I would look at the Braun Breaker injury and go, hey, I'm up. Spotlight's now on me. I'm going to show them what I can do. This is my time. I may not get another chance like this because when Braun Breaker comes back, all the attention's going to be back on him. So if I'm going to make an impression and make a case for me to be the guy, now's the time. So hopefully Braun Breaker takes advantage of that in whatever way he can. And when Braun comes back, he'll be a big star. But at least, even if this is a short window, it gives Bronson Reed the opportunity without distraction from Seth, without distraction from Braun, to be the guy. So we have this match again end in 12 minutes. After the match, Logan put on a headset and berated Cole, and the Masked Man shows up and stomped Logan Paul. And he hopped a barricade and ran. I thought for a moment it looked like the Masked Man was going to unveil himself. I still believe it's Seth Rollins. As I've said, I haven't changed my opinions on that, and it's been a few weeks now. Still the same. again, they can put anybody they want under that mask right now to act like Seth Rollins, and then when the time is right, have Seth actually fill that role. So they're just having, I think, whoever they want under that mask because they can. And when Seth is cleared, it'll be revealed to be him. That's how I think it is. So we have then, let's see, the broadcast team then talk about next week's Raw in Atlanta. Io Sky versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Kairi Sane, another triple threat for the women's qualifying match for the Chamber. And then Bronson Reed versus Jey Uso versus the original El Grande Americano in a triple threat qualifier for the men's Elimination Chamber match. So decent matches, I would think, there. Obviously with Raquel and we have Kairi and Io in next week's match. I mean, you have some solid wrestling matches there. Nothing that blows your mind. So we'll see how those pan out. Backstage, Adam Pearce asked the production staffer about a large crate that bore the words "Delivered to WWE, do not open till 22/28/26." The man didn't know where it came from, and Pearce made sure it wasn't addressed to him, and then told the staffer to have Nick Aldis deal with it by having the crate sent to SmackDown. Now, obviously 2/28/26 is the Elimination Chamber. So that it would lead you to believe that it's a big name, because how can it not be? I mean, it has to be. If it's like, if it's some kind of subpar name, they can't deliver a stinker here of a payoff. They have to deliver in a big way. Is it Chris Jericho? I hope. Let's just get Chris back. I don't know why he didn't show up at the Rumble. There are rumors that things fell through last second. I also believe there's a strong possibility, maybe just as equal of a possibility, that they just wanted to swerve fans. And since we all figured it was going to be Jericho for number 30, they just said, oh, no, we're going to do it when we want to do it. No. So, I mean, they got to pull the trigger if they're going to do it before WrestleMania. Now's the time. I would think it's Chris Jericho. I would think. So Gran Americano, Bravo, and Rayo showed up after the crew left, and Ludwig Kaiser, the version of Americano, wanted an elimination qualifier, but Pierce declined because the matches were already set. But he said he would give him an opportunity at the Intercontinental to earn a shot at the Intercontinental title. Okay, so a promo video then aired for Asuka versus Bayley and Nattie, and we get the match itself for the qualifier for the Women's Chamber. Asuka ends up winning in 10.5 minutes to qualify. So Bayley doesn't take the victory here. The rebranded Nattie doesn't get the victory here. So Asuka ends up getting the victory, and it's a bit disappointing. I mean, to say that it's disappointing though for either Bayley or Nattie, those two characters have been lukewarm and then shut off, and then lukewarm and shut off for so long now. It kind of tells you that this may be, in terms of the Nattie and or Bayley ever being the focal point of WWE, it kind of shuts that down maybe for good. Not that they're going to be fired, but if you're looking for somebody beyond Asuka here to win, Asuka is the biggest name I would think in there, but Bayley's, she's one of the OGs, and you thought maybe with the whole Lyra chemistry that they had, the voices in Bayley's head, you thought maybe that was going somewhere. It was a fun little side quest angle for a while, but it led to Nowhereville, and now we have Asuka, who's going to be a part of the Chamber. Do I expect her to win? No. Would I expect Bayley to win? No. Would I expect Nattie to win? No. It actually would have been kind of neat to see Nattie in there, just because she has been the grizzled veteran that always loses for so long, like so many years now, that it would have been fun to see her in the Chamber. And you know what? Maybe there's some way she sneaks her way in with an injury replacement or something like that. But my guess is Bayley and Nattie are sitting out when it comes to the Chamber. We then have the updated graphic here. So here is the updated list of the women who are in the Chamber here. Tiffany Stratton, Rhea, Alexa, Asuka, and 2 open spots. So, all right. Adam Pearce handed a contract to Obafemi, who said he needed time to decide, and Pearce told him to take all the time he needs. Rusev entered the office and said that he and then he didn't say anything. They just engaged in a stare down. And we have a sit down interview with Liv Morgan. Now, here's actually one of the bright spots of the show. I've been complaining. It's a pretty common complaint of WWE not allowing their stars, including their champions, to speak, or at least for any length of time. Jade Cargill's at the top of that list. And right behind her, I think, is Stephanie Vaquer. And I've said, okay, look, she either needs to learn English or find a way around it like they did with Shinsuke Nakamura and do subtitles. Well, I'll give them credit. They're using the subtitle method to get her message across to the fans. And is it annoying to read instead of being able to just listen and understand inherently? Yes. But you know what? I would take this 10 times out of 10 instead of her very brief one sentence promos that she's been conducting on TV and or no promos on TV since she's been champion. So I will take this. Is it going to be this way in this format every week? No, you can't do this format every week. And you also can't do subtitles when she's out in front of the crowd, obviously. So this is nice. I give them credit and I give Stephanie Vaquer credit. Now let's get to the context here of what was said. So Dominic Mysterio showed up and sat next to Morgan, who's essentially just her translator. And Cole asked which title she would challenge for at WrestleMania 42. And she laughed and said she wasn't going to rush her decision. Stephanie Vaquer comes in and spoke in Spanish again, as I said, but Vaquer said that she would show Morgan what a real champion is, essentially, and exited the room and talked about how she's, she earned everything that she got and she wrestled all over the world. And it's good to know. I mean, a lot of fans that didn't follow her in NXT or know any of her backstory, it's good to know backstory, basic storytelling. What was weird is Morgan started crying and then exited the room with Dom. So kind of an interesting choice, weird choice to have Liv Morgan cry here. I don't know what upset her tummy so much. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't know what to make of it yet. So I'm allowing the story to play out before I judge whether or not it was a good idea to have, Liv Morgan, the Royal Rumble winner, cry by just a few words said to her backstage that weren't really that harsh. It wasn't really that harsh. It was more about just Stephanie Vaquer essentially giving the fans a backstory of herself. So again, we'll see. We'll see. I'm letting the jury stay out on this one, but I enjoyed the segment overall, and I applaud the company for taking this road. It's not the preferred road, right? We all wish we could just understand her inherently, but the vast majority of WWE's audience are not Spanish speaking. The vast majority aren't. So you need to be able to find a way to communicate with those, which is the vast majority of your audience, so you can get your message to them. And this is a good way to do it. Really one of the only ways to do it, but I'll take it. So good stuff. We then have CM Punk come out, and he recalled Adam Pearce accusing him of putting WrestleMania in jeopardy by agreeing to face Finn Balor. And Punk said sports teams qualify for the playoffs, but that doesn't mean they don't have to show up and play the rest of their games. And then Finn Balor comes out, interrupts quickly. Balor comes out, and Dom comes out, and JD McDonough also does. So the defunct, imaginary, walking corpse of a Judgment Day, what's left of them, come out, and Balor listed some of the things he's done and talks about what it takes to be the best in the world. And he talked about how he himself is the real best in the world. And Punk said, so what are these two idiots doing here? And Punk said that the examples Finn Balor gave were things he accomplished on his own, and said the Judgment Day are dead weight. And Punk mocked Dom for wearing two titles he never defends, and said McDonough has a hard time entering the ring because of his head size. And a bobblehead chant started. And he turned back to the heels and told Balor and his crew to take their best shot, but Balor held his arms out. And Punk said he doesn't need to prove that he's the best in the world, but maybe you do. And McDonough wanted to go after Punk, but he held him back. So a little bit of tension here. as Punk and Finn Balor continue their little side program that really is not going to have any, I don't think, any true effect on the WrestleMania main event. Now, could you add Finn Balor into this program? Is it the craziest idea to add Finn Balor into the WrestleMania main event? I know people have laughed it off and said this is ridiculous. I've seen some of the prominent YouTubers. We all know them, right? We all know who they are. I've seen some of them laugh it off. But hear me out. Am I advocating for it? No. Let me just be clear on that. I want it to be one-on-one Punk and Roman. And Roman not being here this week should surprise absolutely zero people. Precisely zero people. If you were surprised that Roman wasn't there or frustrated that Roman wasn't there, where were you between 2020 and 2024? I mean, you didn't watch a lick of wrestling. So, now, again, Punk and Roman should be solo one-on-one. And I hope it ends up that way. But if Finn Balor is injected into this match, is it the worst idea in the world? No, it's not. Finn Balor is on a comeback tour to the main event. He's reminding you why he's that good, why he is and can be a main eventer, not just as a one-off or as the guy that's used to help build the champion on his way to his true opponent at WrestleMania, which is probably how Finn's being used right now. But if Finn Balor is somehow injected into the main event, the quality of the match is probably going to be on par with the Seth Rollins, Punk, and Roman match of last year, which was, by most people's judgment, the best match of the entire event. So if Finn Balor's put in this match, it, again, not my preference, but think about the quality of the match. It would be incredible. Finn Balor would bring a lot to that match. So I don't think it's going to happen, but it's I think in the realm of possibility. So keep that in mind as we head into WrestleMania season, where everybody's writing off Finn Balor. At the very least, at worst for Finn, he's going to shed the Judgment Day because Punk brought it up, and he should. And I mean, he should have 2-3 years ago, but he is being redefined in fans' minds as a main eventer, as a potential champion, really at any time. So that's not a bad thing. Bringing Finn back into the fold while you have a premium talent like him, it's almost criminal they haven't done it sooner. Okay. So we then have some backstage promo and interactions here for the women's tag team championships with Rhea and Io and Kabuki Warriors interrupting, which again wasn't really too memorable, but building to that matchup. The broadcast team then plugged 2K26 and announced that El Grande Americano will be a playable character in the game. Well, that should bump some pre-orders, huh? I mean, why would you even mention that? Like, look, no disrespect to Chad Gable. I think he's one of the best pure wrestlers that the company has. He's incredible. But you can't sell me on El Grande Americano being a playable character in 2K26 as some kind of marketing tactic, and I don't think that was the best thing. However, that said, it was mentioned, I think, because it was a nice transition into the next match, which was Penta versus El Grande Americano for a shot at the Intercontinental title. And the match went 10.5 minutes with Penta beating El Grande to earn a shot at the Intercontinental title. And the finish was El Grande Americano, the original, i.e. Chad Gable, emerging from underneath the ring and beat up Rayo and Bravo. And then Penta hit a distracted Americano Kaiser with a springboard Mexican destroyer. And after the match, Penta and the OG bumped hands, and the then beat down on the Americano continued. So, okay, fine. I mean, Penta versus Dominic Mysterio for now is going to be the focus, but I think if they don't put Finn Balor in the main event as a triple threat with Punk and Roman, you're going to have Dom versus Finn, which is certainly a respectable and long-awaited program. Years between these two, with tensions boiling. You thought they were going to split, and it came close a few times, and they haven't done it yet. So certainly, Finn Balor has a place at WrestleMania, whether it's in the Intercontinental title picture or in truly the main event. So certainly a rebound and rebranding of Finn Balor for this year's WrestleMania. Okay. We had Dominic comfort Liv Morgan while they sat on the couch inside the Judgment Day clubhouse, and Dom asked if Raquel could take care of Morgan. And then the women left, and JD complained to Finn about how they had CM Punk surrounded, and Balor said he's trying to do it by himself. And JD said he's trying to help Balor win the World Championship, and Balor told him to let him do it by itself. So tension keeps building here, as it always does with the imaginary Judgment Day group. Okay, here we go. AJ Lee then comes out. She recalled the Pink Butterfly title being the only title the women could fight for when she last held the championship. She said she loved it and wore it proudly because she made that title. She said, "Yeah, I'm not modest. I know exactly who the hell I am." She said there was a women's division before and after her. She said she wants to face Bayley, Lyra, Rhea, Io, then the Kabuki Warriors, Charlotte Flair, Alexa, but for now, all roads lead back to Becky Lynch. She assumed Lynch was mad because she sells more merch and the fans like her more. And Lee said it's not her fault because she gave Lynch a 10-year head start. And Lee said that if she walks out of the Elimination Chamber event victorious, she'll walk into WrestleMania as champion. And that's when she called out Becky. Okay, so before we get to Becky coming out, the delivery of this promo, at least on the front end, wasn't horrible. I know that some people are looking at this part as the really bad part. I would disagree. This part was okay. It at least wasn't AJ Lee playing coy and childish like she did last week. I mean, that's not saying much given how bad last week's was. And I shouldn't say the content is bad. Although the content's not great, it's the delivery and the tone of the segments that are just killing it. Now, I like how AJ Lee stated that she knows who the hell she is. I like a little confidence. I don't want her being the shy, reserved AJ Lee. That's not who and what she is. So I like that. She's a little confident here, showing that she knows what she stands for and what her impact was on the division. And she talks about the Butterfly Championship, and she is one of the biggest faces that you think of when you think about that era, much more than the Bellas, much more, But AJ Lee was one of the shining lights during the Divas era. She was one of the best, if not the best, overall performer. I mean, maybe Paige is a second as well when it comes to women's wrestling. It was kind of like it was much like the Attitude Era version of the women, except just less sexual, but also had the feeling of the same importance. They didn't get a whole lot of time on the show. Their championship looked like a toy that you'd get at, I don't know, Bye Bye Baby. Is that store still around? It looked horrible, but at least you had some women in there that grounded the division in some kind of credibility and respect. And AJ Lee was one of those women. I can't doubt her on that or dispute her on that. But here's where the thing totally falls apart horribly. I mean, it was almost as if they were trying to make this bad. That's how bad this was. And I can't fault all on AJ Lee. So let's go through it. Becky comes out and spoke from the floor, and Lynch mocked Lee for thinking she would have a title run and said it's an opportunity for Lee to gather her friends, family, and anyone dumb enough to like her to give her the send-off because she never had a retirement match. And let's see here. Moving on. I'm skipping over some of the silly stuff. Lee said that they could save the title match for Chicago, and she invited Lynch to join her in the ring so they could throw hands. A whoop that trick started, a chant started, and then Lynch teased entering the ring and then asked Lee if she looked stupid. Lee offered Lynch the first swing as Becky comes in the ring. AJ then encouraged her to take the first shot. She even dropped the mic and put her hands behind her back, but Lynch still hesitated. And Lynch said she doesn't fight in Memphis and stormed to the back. And Cole is pushing the narrative that Lee is in Lynch's head. Well, is that really the case? I mean, AJ Lee is the one who's provoking Becky, not the other way around, but I digress. So this did nothing for me at all. And it's kind of insane to think, given how much hype there was and excitement returning from AJ Lee's return a number of months ago, and thinking of the totality of Becky's career, she's still one of the biggest stars in women's wrestling. Even if she's not the hottest that she ever was, she's definitely cooled down. She's still a big name. And you put these two together and you're thinking, oh, well, this is going to be really good. And so far, whatever they're drawing up in their creative meetings has been god-awful. And despite that, the execution is somehow worse. And I gotta give Becky Lynch a lot of that weight here. She's got to be held accountable and called to the carpet, because whatever they're doing and how they don't see what they're doing on air. I mean, they have cameras. I'm sure they watch the show back. How do they not look at that and go, that's just bad. The way that Becky Lynch is acting with AJ Lee makes no sense. Becky Lee, first of all, Becky Lynch is larger in size than AJ, which almost everyone is, but why is Becky Lynch intimidated by AJ Lee? She doesn't know how to speak. She almost slurs all of her words together. She's, it's like she's half drunk. If you listen to her promos, I'm not exaggerating or trying to be funny. I swear, like, it's not even English half the time. She slurs her words together. She's trying to play a part that she can't play. She's trying to act. And it feels like she's trying to act. It's such forced anger from Becky that it's an unwatchable segment for especially for Becky Lynch. Now, AJ didn't do great either. I mean, she's still acting coy. She's still acting a little awkward, and I don't know if that's on purpose. She does have a great speaking voice. She is a great communicator. When she speaks, you pay attention. But so far, since this most recent return, she hasn't really found her stride yet. But Becky Lynch has been horrific with AJ Lee. Whatever this version is of her needs to be rethought completely, or what's the term today? Reimagined. It just needs to go back to the drawing board. Just be Becky Lynch. That doesn't mean you're trying to be a babyface and get the fans to like you. But AJ Lee is the one that makes you cower, unable to speak. You won't take a swing. I understand heels are supposed to be cowardly, but what's going on? So, not good. Easily an embarrassing segment. This is one of those segments, and I don't say this a lot, but this is one of those segments that if you're with a fan that's back into wrestling, you have a friend that's kind of a fringe wrestling fan, and they're only into wrestling when it's okay to be into wrestling from their perspective. When it's WrestleMania season, Rumble kind of kicks off their interest again, right? And they kind of peek in and go, oh, who is it? Any big names? And so they start to get back into it. And if you're sitting there watching this with one of your friends that are like that, this is one of those ones that you'd be embarrassed to sit there and watch with them, because they turn to you and go, this is what wrestling's become. This is the shit that you watch. You know, like, that to me is how that segment felt. And I hate to say it given the names that are in that segment, but I'm calling it like it is. So can they get back on track? Yes. How? Easy. Cut the shit. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Stop with the acting, the overacting, the forced anger for no reason. The coyness of AJ manipulating Becky, but Becky feeling like she's still smarter, but not, taking a swing at AJ. And what are we doing? We're playing little cat and mouse child games. So they can easily get back on track by just not doing whatever this is. All right. I can't even go on. Let's stop. So yeah, I actually became much less interested in the outcome of this match than going in. And that is the complete opposite reaction that you would want fans to have after a segment. The inherent purpose of any segment is to promote an upcoming match, title match or non, based on the segment you're watching to help build to that moment. This detracted by like 3 steps. All right. So we had a promo video for the Javon Evans, or for the qualifier, and Javon Evans makes his entrance. And yes, he ends up winning the Gunther and Dominic Mysterio and Javon Evans triple threat. The match went nearly 15 minutes. Javon Evans wins, which was great to see. That doesn't mean Gunther's being pushed back. Gunther certainly has a road to WrestleMania. How can he not? Is it with Brock Lesnar, who's going to be returning to Raw next week? I hope. I hope it's Brock and Gunther. That interests me infinitely more than Brock Lesnar and LA Knight. But we'll see. So Gunther has a decent matchup here. He ends up putting Dom in the sleeper. Evans puts Gunther in the sleeper, in a sleeper to break the sleeper on Dom, but Gunther broke free, and he went to the floor and took the hammer from Dom, and then Dragon Lee jumped from the barricade and hit Gunther with the ring bell, and then Dom hit Evans with a 619, and Evans avoided the frog splash and hit Dom with the OG cutter for the victory, which was sold great. And then Javon Evans gets the victory. I mean, you talk about when you look at the star power and just name value of these 3 men, Javon Evans is like worlds away from Gunther. I mean, he's Dominic. I wouldn't say is a household name, but Javon Evans, without question, is the low man on the totem pole, and he's going to be an awesome addition to that chamber match because it gives him exposure. That's all you're looking for. You know that. I know that. Is there any chance of him winning? There's a better chance of WWE calling me as a substitute, okay, than Javon Evans winning, just because he's going to put on a show. He's there to get exposure, just to put him in front of the fans, get him in front of eyeballs. That's the purpose of this, and that's fine. He's going to have some crazy moments in that chamber match, off the top of the pod, off the top of the actual chamber itself. He's going to do wild stuff. I mean, imagine the OG cutter off the top of the pod. Do I think he'll do that? I actually don't. I hope he doesn't, actually, because as cool of a visual as that is, the injury risk is exceedingly high. But it's fun to think about, and he's just going to put on a show. So that'll be fun. So the updated graphic here for the men, if you want to know who that is in terms of the men's side of the chamber, it is Randy Orton, LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, and Javon Evans. Still 2 open spots. Those will be filled in the next couple of shows with SmackDown and 1 more Raw, and then, of course, another SmackDown to go, which is really just a wrap-up. So, all right, a good match here to end the show. So it ended on a high note after that incredibly low, embarrassing. I mean, I almost blushed. Do you ever... Maybe this is me, but I've seen some stuff in wrestling before. This is pretty close to one of them, where you're so embarrassed, even if you're by yourself, you're embarrassed to be watching it. Like there's like your soul is embarrassed to be watching, so your body reacts by blushing, even though no one's around, because you feel like you're doing yourself a disservice. That if anyone else knew that you were watching this, they would think differently of you. That's how that segment affected me. Like I might have actually turned a different shade of color. I was so embarrassed to watch that. It was just horrific. I mean, Becky, come on. And yes, some of AJ and also some of the creative team. You don't need to overthink this or force it. And they're overthinking it, and it seems like overdoing it. It doesn't need to be. So, yeah. All right. Well, I'll end it there. But if you guys want to go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast, and use the code CHAMBER at checkout, as I've always said, because that will get you 50% off your first month. You can also go to Apple and go subscribe there ad-free. Both of them offer a 1-week free trial as well. So check out all those places, guys, if you hate those ads. But I'll be back in a couple of days, and we'll be talking about the mailbag. So send in your questions, mailbag@wwepodcast.com. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.